Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and still I rise because I love my country, and I also rise because I believe that we are currently in a constitutional crisis. The executive branch of the government is refusing to honor subpoenas lawfully issued by committees of the Congress. The executive branch of the government does not respect the judiciary. We're in a constitutional crisis. We have a duty, an obligation, and a responsibility to do something about this. So I rise today, Mr. Speaker, some 99 days after the Mueller report was made public. The Mueller report has been thoroughly vetted by the members of Congress to the extent that we have talked about it. We have proclaimed that there are impeachable acts that are clearly indicated within the Mueller report. The Mueller report has been discussed ad infinitum and ad nauseum by members of Congress. I'm not saying that everybody knows what's in it, but I do know that there is the notion that there is a Mueller report and that that report has information in it, evidence, if you will, that is antithetical to the president and would, in some circumstances, be such that we would bring articles of impeachment. I would also indicate that we are now one day since Mr. Mueller testified before the Congress of the United States of America, the Judiciary Committee and Intelligence Committee. Mr. Mueller has written his report. He has testified before Congress. And now the question really becomes, what are we going to do? Will we seek additional testimony? I'm not opposed to it. But I do believe this. At some point, we will start to see evidence of what Dr. King called the paralysis of analysis. I believe that we are now seeing the initial evidence, if we haven't seen it before, of the analysis of a paralysis. This paralysis is something that will stall us to the extent that someone will move forward and say, rather than impeach, let's defeat. I am not one of them. I believe that if we violate Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution, then we ought to enforce that law. No one is above the law in the United States of America. We must honor Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution, which deals with impeachment. If we do not, history will not be kind to us. It especially will not be kind to those of us who are in control of this House. We decide what comes to the floor. We decide what the agenda is. History will not be kind to us if we don't take up our duty, responsibility, and obligation pursuant to Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, we are at the crossroads of accountability. Either we will hold the chief executive accountable or we will be held accountable. I pray that we will do that which the framers of the Constitution fully intended, and that is proceed with impeachment when you have a chief executive that is causing harm to society. This is a seminal moment in time for those of us who are in charge of this House. Either we will act or we will be acted upon. I yield back the balance of my time.
Members are reminded to refrain from engaging in personalities toward the president. The chair recognizes